Hello, my friends, and let's start with a recap. So, over the past week, the occupiers managed to capture 24 square kilometers across the entire front line, and this means their advance has once again slowed to a minimal level. Considering the number of offensive actions and losses, these advances are extremely small, especially given the long stretch of the front. However, despite this, every attack needs to be repelled, and the Russians are still numerous. And now let's move on to the situation along the front line. So the occupiers have increased the number of shelling in the border villages of Chernihiv, Sumy, and Kharkiv regions. So, however, they haven't opened a new front, and the situation at the border remains unchanged. And today, there is more good news regarding strikes on Russia. So, Ukraine can shoot down aircraft in Russian airspace with the Patriot systems provided by Germany, and it's quite possible that the Patriot systems will now be used in the Kharkiv region and over Russia. They are excellent for countering Russian planes that drop terrifying glide bombs, said the head of the German Ukrainian Situational Center Bundeswehr, Major General Christian Friedrich. So he emphasized that the decision on how to use the anti-aircraft missile systems is made by the Ukrainian military. So, in the Kharkiv direction. In the Kharkiv direction, the occupiers haven't failed to achieve success, so have increased the number of shelling, and the village of Liptsi remains under the control of the Ukrainian forces, and the Russians are not conducting new offensive actions today, so they are only digging in on the captured territory and trying to hold their defense in the Vovchansk area. So the occupiers have also ceased fighting, and offensive actions are recorded only near the village of Staritsa. But here too, they haven't had no success. So, however, the number of shelling has increased in this area as well. So the Ukrainian forces are also striking Russian positions, showing that the occupiers are no longer capable of advancing. Their losses are extremely high. Additionally, it was reported that last night there were strikes on Shebekina in the Belgorod region. As a result of the action by Russian air defense, 3 people were injured. But this is just the beginning. So today more and more countries are granting permission to destroy military targets in Russia's border region. It's going to get very heated there. So, in fact, Forbes has reported that Ukraine hit Belgorod with a HIMARS strike just hours after receiving approval from Biden. Meanwhile, investigations into defense work in the Kharkiv region continue. The Kharkiv Regional State Administration refused to disclose the contractors who failed the fortification construction projects, citing restricted access. Nearly 7.5 billion hryvnias were spent on fortification construction in Kharkiv. This was reported by the Kharkiv Regional State Administration in response to an inquiry from Hvara Media. Over 98% of more than 7.3 billion hryvnias are state funds, while 1.6% or nearly 121 million hryvnias come from the Kharkiv regional budget. So, in the Kupiansk direction, all Russian plans have failed, and attacks have ceased, and the front line remains unchanged. Only shelling continues both in the rear and along the front line. So they are trying to destroy the last Ukrainian positions in Sinkivka, Stepovana Vasilka, Ivanivka, and Tabaivka. So, most likely, after another round of artillery preparation, they will attempt to break through again. But for now, the situation remains unchanged. And meanwhile, the Ukrainian forces continue to destroy Russian equipment. So, near the village of Vilshana, Ukrainian forces discovered and neutralized a Russian Grad rocket system. Consequently, the number of Shalin is expected to decrease after such equipment is destroyed. In the Svatova area, attacks on Druzhelyubivka have been ongoing for the third day. Shalin also continues, but the Russians haven't achieved any new successes here. The Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks. In the Crimea direction, battles are ongoing for Nevsky and Terny. Shalin along the front line continues. Yesterday's attacks on Torsk were unsuccessful for the Russians, and the front line hasn't changed over the past day. In the Siversk direction, the occupiers are attempting to storm Rozdolivka and Vyemka. For the second consecutive day, fighting here is relentless, but the occupiers haven't achieved any success. The Shalin in this area is at its maximum intensity. In the Chasiv Yar direction, the occupiers have concentrated a large number of forces in an offensive towards Kalinivka and also Novy microdistrict. So they are attempting to seize this section of the front to gain a proximity to the water barrier. The battles are very intense, with the Russians attacking both with infantry and equipment. Additionally, the fight for the outskirts of Klishchiivka continues, but the Russians haven't been able to completely push out the Ukrainian forces, so the front line hasn't changed over the past day. Meanwhile, Russian correspondents report that the Ukrainian forces have struck their occupied location in Salidar. So let me show you. That resources report a hit on the location of the 200th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade of the Russian Federation in occupied Salidar. It's reported that yesterday at about 9 a.m. a HIMARS strike was carried out on the territory of the Knauf plant in Salidar, where units of the 200th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade of the Russian Federation were located. As a result of the strike, the occupiers suffered 4 killed and 7 wounded, but this information is currently unconfirmed. So, in the Pokrovsk direction, the occupiers were unable to secure positions in the fields towards Tarasivka, so the front line remains unchanged. Battles continue for Novoalexandrivka and the village of Sokil. Attacks on Umanske, Yasnobrodivka, and from Netailova, the occupiers are trying to advance towards Karlivka. So the situation here is difficult, with the occupiers heavily shelling Karlivka and pushing along the highway. So from the farthest front line to the outskirts of Karlivka is exactly 3 kilometers. However, the Ukrainian forces are doing everything possible to maintain the defense. In the Kurakhova direction, the occupiers continue to assault the northern part of Krasnohorivka. Battles are also ongoing in the area of Konstantinivka, but the front line hasn't changed over the past day. In the end, all attacks near Georgievka and Paraskoviivka have ceased, and the Russians remain in their previous position. In the Vuhledar area, so the occupiers are assaulting only Staromayorsky today. They haven't achieved any success near Vodane, and the front line remains unchanged. In addition to the attacks near Staromayorsky, there is a significant amount of shelling, but the Ukrainian forces are holding the defense despite everything. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, the occupiers failed to advance in the area of Robotine, so today they began to assault the Ukrainian positions towards Mala Tokmachka. Shelling continues, but there are no changes along the front line. In the Kherson direction, Their general staff reports ongoing battles in the village of Krinky, and the Russians are intensively shelling the right bank in the vicinity of the village of Krinky to prevent the Ukrainian forces from transferring reserves there. Despite significant difficulties, the Ukrainian forces maintain their initiative and continue to destroy their advancing occupies. So, and that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.